What if travel only feels expensive because most people keep choosing the same cities over and over again? What if the real mistake is not your budget, but the destination itself? Because every year, thousands of travelers save up for the trip they've been dreaming about, only to land in places where the hotel room feels smaller than expected, the food costs more than it should, the lines never end, and the whole experience somehow feels less exciting than the price tag promised. And that is where most people get it wrong. They assume expensive means better, when in reality, some of the most unforgettable trips are happening in places that cost a fraction of what people spend in the world's most overcrowded hotspots. Places where $50 a day does not mean cutting corners. It means eating well, sleeping comfortably, exploring more, and feeling like you found a loophole in modern travel. Because in some famous cities, one careless afternoon can destroy your budget, while in the places you're about to see, that same money can carry an entire day. And the first city on this list might be one of the biggest surprises of all. At number 10 is Budapest, Hungary. And for a lot of travelers, this is the city that makes them realize just how badly they have been overpaying for Europe. Because Budapest gives you the kind of views, architecture, atmosphere, and elegance people expect from far more expensive capitals, except here, the experience does not come with the same financial damage. You can spend the day walking past stunning historic buildings, crossing the Danube, soaking in thermal baths, eating filling local food, and still not feel like your budget is bleeding every few hours. And that is what makes Budapest so dangerous to expensive cities. Once you see how much beauty and experience you can get here for so little, it becomes very hard to justify paying double somewhere else. Then at number 9 is Krakow, Poland, a city that quietly wins people over without making a big show of it. It has the kind of old-world beauty, cozy energy, and relaxed charm that makes you slow down almost immediately. But unlike many famous European cities, it does not punish you every time you sit down for a meal or step into the center. Everything feels warm, walkable, atmospheric, and surprisingly manageable on a budget, which is exactly why so many people come for a short visit and leave wishing they had given it more time. And if these cities already feel like smart choices, the next destination pushes budget travel into an entirely different category. At number 8 is Chiang Mai, Thailand. And this is where a lot of travelers start questioning why they ever thought budget travel had to feel limiting. Because in Chiang Mai, low cost does not translate into a smaller experience. It feels like the exact opposite. The food is everywhere, the atmosphere is alive, the cafes feel stylish, the markets stay busy deep into the evening, and even simple everyday experiences start feeling unusually rewarding because your money goes so much further than you expected. This is the kind of place where you can eat well, unwind, explore, and still spend so little that travel starts feeling fun again instead of financially stressful. Then at number 7 is Athens, Greece, a city many people assume belongs in a completely different price category until they actually look closer. And yes, Athens can absolutely get expensive if you follow the most touristy path possible, but once you move a little smarter, the value becomes hard to ignore. You get ancient landmarks, city views, vibrant neighborhoods, local food, and even the feeling of being connected to the islands without paying full island prices. And that is what makes Athens so surprising. It gives you the atmosphere of a much bigger, more expensive trip while still leaving room in the budget. And if Greece already feels like an unexpected entry on this list, the next destination may challenge people's assumptions even more. At number 6 is Istanbul, Turkey, and this is the kind of city that makes many expensive destinations suddenly feel underwhelming. Because the moment you arrive, everything feels bigger, louder, richer, and more alive than you expected. The architecture is unforgettable, the streets feel charged with energy, the food keeps pulling you in, and even something as simple as crossing the water or watching the skyline at sunset feels like part of a much larger experience. And that is what makes Istanbul so impressive on a budget. It delivers the kind of scale, atmosphere, and cultural intensity people fly across the world to find, without draining your money the way other iconic cities often do. Then at number 5 is Bali, Indonesia, a destination people often assume is no longer affordable, mostly because they keep seeing the same expensive corners online. But the truth is, Bali can still feel almost ridiculously good for the money when you move beyond the most obvious tourist path. This is where budget travel can start looking far more luxurious than it has any right to. Beautiful stays, peaceful scenery, fresh food, freedom to move around easily, and days that somehow feel both exciting and deeply relaxing at the same time. Before we go any further, think about this for a second. If someone handed you a free flight tonight, which place on this list would actually be worth using it on? Because the next few destinations reveal something most travelers figure out far too late. The trips people remember most are not always the ones with the biggest names, but the ones that give them the most back for what they spend. At number 4 is Porto, Portugal. And this is the kind of city that quietly makes more famous Western European destinations feel overpriced. It has the beauty people are chasing, the atmosphere they hope for, and the kind of streets, views, food, and character that make a place feel instantly rewarding, but without the same exhausting price pressure that often comes with Europe's biggest tourist names. Porto feels relaxed without being boring, elegant without being intimidating, and memorable without making every small decision feel expensive. And that is exactly why it hits so well for budget travelers. It gives you that classic European feeling people want. At number 3 is Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina. And this is where the list starts to feel less like cheap travel and more like meaningful travel. Because Sarajevo is not just affordable, it is the kind of place that catches people off guard. There is something in the atmosphere here that feels deeper than a typical city break. You see it in the mix of cultures, in the architecture, in the food, in the cafes, and in the history that still feels present around you. Prices stay low, the experience feels personal, and unlike many polished tourist cities that look good for a weekend and then fade from memory, Sarajevo has a way of lingering in your mind long after the trip ends. Then at number 2 is Mexico City, Mexico, a place that completely destroys the idea that a world-class city has to come with a world-class price tag. This city feels massive, creative, energetic, and constantly rewarding, with amazing food, layered history, beautiful neighborhoods, green spaces, museums, nightlife, and the kind of cultural depth that could keep you busy far longer than most travelers expect. And for people in the US or Canada, the value becomes even harder to ignore because getting here is often easier, faster, and more realistic than many long-haul budget trips. And at number 1 is Vietnam, especially cities like Hanoi and Da Nang, because this is where the entire idea of budget travel starts to feel completely different. This is not just a place where things are cheaper. It is a place where the value feels almost hard to believe once you experience it for yourself. The food, the hotels, the cafes, the movement, the scenery, the culture, the energy. It all adds up in a way that makes many travelers realize they have been settling for far less while paying far more somewhere else. Hanoi gives you that intensity, history, and atmosphere that pulls you in immediately, while Da Nang offers a smoother, more relaxed mix of coastline, comfort, and everyday ease. And that is exactly why Vietnam takes the top spot, because it gives you options, quality, excitement, and depth without making your budget feel constantly under attack. It is not number 1 just because it is cheap. It is number 1 because it proves that saving money does not have to shrink the experience. It can actually expand it. And when a destination lets you eat better, stay longer, explore more, and enjoy the trip with less stress the entire time, that is when budget travel stops feeling like a compromise and starts feeling like the smartest way to travel at all. And when you really step back and look at this list, you start to realize something most travelers figure out too late. Travel did not become too expensive. People just keep chasing the wrong destinations. While millions of others keep pouring their money into the same crowded, overhyped cities, there are still places in the world where your budget can buy more than just a trip. It can buy freedom, comfort, better experiences, and the feeling that you actually traveled smart. And maybe that is the biggest mistake people keep making. They assume the most famous places will give them the best memories, when sometimes the opposite is true. Sometimes the smartest trip is not the one everyone talks about. It is the one that gives you more than you expected and costs less than you feared. So now I want to know, if you had to choose just one destination from this list to book next, which one would it be and why? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to Travel with Aria for more smart, beautiful, budget-friendly destinations that most travelers still overlook. Because your next favorite trip may not be the one everyone recommends, but the one most people never even think to search for.